Reflection, a note from the author. The story of the hedgehog has seen a few drafts here and there. The original concept was produced from one of the campaigns in a very popular first-person shooter game back in 2017. I outlined a draft of a tale and started writing, and 40,000 words in was since abandoned. Not because of time, but because of passion. I was writing a tale of convoluted plots, and it was ultimately a revenge story. I lost passion, and that manuscript with its characters in a dock was sitting there. A number of books, games, and anime later, I decided to pick it back up again. However, it was a new outline. I started elsewhere, not in the middle of some grand ceremony, but in the centre of a horrific event, tossing you, my reader, right into the middle of the action. This book ended where it started, unsettling. The tone of this novel is like a whiplash, moving myself and hopefully you in many different directions emotionally, and I will find that to be true the farther these tales take us. As I was outlining this in the end of August of 2020, I was reflecting more about what story this was going to be. A tale of adventure, despair, magic, suffering, regret, or action. And I brought myself again to one of my favourite anime, which depicted a 15-year-old girl coming back from the war who was viewed as nothing but a tool, and she valued herself as nothing more than a tool of war, needing orders to do anything, holding up a firm military and cold, distant social demeanour. She came back from the war with two arms replaced with metallic instruments, and used them for her arms in a way to write letters. That was a tale about a veteran's struggles, returning to integrate back into what they call civvy life. Civvy is short for civilian, for those unaware. Most soldiers come back with some level of emotional baggage, suffering internally with a variety of stress. The most common one is PTSD, and others coming back with the inability to express oneself openly. Circling back around that anime, it tells the story I elaborated upon just above, and in that was a book I wanted to read. The book was a light novel, and upon doing a quick search, I was unable to find anything like that. There were no comparisons that popped up, and even trying to use the subject matter as a reference, all I was able to find were memoirs and textbooks, both of which I was not looking for. I'm assuming this may be the first fictitious novel exploring veteran integration, and confident in that. If I'm wrong, please send them my way, I want to read them. This story wouldn't have been written, likely, if it wasn't for that anime. And revealing the elements on such subject material, and I might say, between this novel and my first one, they are worlds apart in terms of quality. Reflecting upon this reminds me of the times when the muse took over, and it was such a relaxing feeling. When the muse violently took over my fingers, my brain and mind went numb as I typed away at the computer screen, not thinking about the words I typed. My fingers typed away without my brain cognitively thinking about what happened next. This was truly a passion project, and I remember one night, it was a Friday night when I finished the first draft of this novel. I was listening to depressing music, because why not, and I typed away for hours on end. I knew where I was going next, and knew the next line of words, so I elected that it was a good place to stop, and I could continue first thing in the morning. I shut down my laptop and went in the shower, continuing to listen to said depressing music, as I cleansed myself of mud and sadness. What happened next was awe-inspiring and funny. I went over the first part of the chapter in my head, and when I got to the place where I stopped, my muse decided that I was not done yet. Damn you. I dictated the rest of the chapter as I finished the shower, and thought to myself, I can't stop now, this was too good, and I will forget what I just said first thing in the morning. So I did what any normal person would do, hop out of the shower, dry myself, and put clothes on. Clothes are essential. I went in my room and turned on the computer and finished the chapter, which was at that time the end of the book. I clocked in 64,000 words, give or take, in 2.5 weeks. The editing process was time-consuming, mentally exhausting, but the revisions needed to be made, and some changes were implemented to make the story fuller and more justifiably a fantasy novel. Upon my last revisions, I got to the chapter which I detailed above and had a little emotional breakdown. Not because I was getting towards the end of this bittersweet tale, but because the emotion that was invoked in me upon rereading it was raw, and I cried, and I could only mutter 2 words, I'm sorry. Eventually I made it to the end of the chapter, and scanned the next chapter to see how long it might take. Seeing how the next chapter was short, so I elected to keep going. Upon reading the first few lines, I immediately realised that was a dreadful mistake, saying to myself in the darkness of the night, oh, it's that chapter. Dear God, no, I can't freaking handle this right now. I know this novel is going to hit differently for different people, and for me, I spent countless nights crying, not just writing it, but editing it. While I know this will not please everyone, I know it will please others. I know not everyone, myself included, has seen what war looks like. I know not everyone has experienced the mental toll it can place on the mind, and especially those who were tossed aside continue to fight the demons of war as they relive those wretched moments again and again and again. This is one of the many real problems we face globally, and there are some who handle it better than others, but regrettably, like many problems, it still persists. And within the themes discussed in this novel and ultimately this series, perhaps an idea can come about solving some of these larger social detriments plaguing our society in whatever corner of the earth we reside.